What if Slivers were in Yu-Gi-Oh? Slivers are creatures with beaks, a long scythe-like claw, and a serpent-like tail, and the closest thing to a Yu-Gi-Oh archetype Magic has to offer. Just look at Harmonic Sliver, a 3-cost sliver with 1 red and 2 generic, with 2 attack and 2 toughness. And the effect? Each sliver card in each player's hands has Sliver Cycling, 3 generic, Sliver Cycling, 3 generic, the keyword cycling, letting you discard the card, and paying a mana cost in order to search your library for the specified card. This would be our searcher, becoming a level 3 fire attribute reptile with 1000 attack and 1000 defense. And the effect? You can discard this card. Add 1 sliver card from your deck to your hand. Once per turn, the turn player can discard 1 sliver card. Add 1 sliver card from their deck to their hand. It has the effect to search any sliver at the cost of itself or another sliver card in hand, to imitate the effect of cycling slivers in your hand, to add another sliver card from your deck to your hand, though you don't need to pay a mana cost to activate either effect, since Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't have a traditional cost system, and going hand neutral is enough of a cost already. However, this effect is a soft once per turn to prevent you from milling your entire deck with a single Harmonic Sliver. Before we go any further, it's important to clarify the different types of once per turn effects. A soft once per turn is when a card only states a text once per turn, meaning you can only activate the effect of that copy of a card once per turn, while a hard once per turn is when a card lists its name in its once per turn effect, i.e., you can only use the effect of card name once per turn. For example, if we had 3 copies of the card Catapult Turtle, we could use this effect 3 times this turn. 1 for every single Catapult Turtle, as this once per turn clause only pertains to that copy of a card on the field. This is best demonstrated if we were to remove Catapult Turtle from the field and then resummon it. You could use its effect again, since it's technically a new card that has not used its once per turn effect yet. But if we had 3 copies of Dark Strike Fighter, you could only use the effect of 1 Dark Strike Fighter this turn, as it restricts the effect of the named card and not just the card on the field. It becomes a reptile since it's the only type that fits their appearance of a creature with a monstrous talon, beak, and whip-like tail. It has 1000 attack and defense, as I would consider every 1 stat point in Magic to be roughly equivalent to 500 stat points in Yu-Gi-Oh! And it becomes a fire attribute, as it's a red card. The next card up is Quick Sliver, a 2-cost sliver with 1 green and 1 generic, with 1 attack and 1 toughness. And the effect? Flash. You can play this card at any time you could play an instant spell. Any player may cast sliver spells as though they had flash. Quick Sliver becomes one of our starters / extenders, becoming a level 2 wind attribute reptile with 400 attack and 100 defense. And the effect? If this card is normal or special summoned, both players can special summon 1 level 4 or lower sliver monster from their hand. Quick effect. If either player controls a sliver monster, you can special summon this card from your hand. You can only use this effect of Quick Sliver once per turn. Quick Sliver lets you summon another sliver from your hand when it's summoned to imitate giving your other slivers flash, as it immediately summons another sliver from your hand after it resolves, although the sliver it summons must be level 4 or below, as it's the highest level monster you can summon without having to tribute another, as monsters level 5 to 6 require 1 tribute, and monsters level 7 or higher require 2. It also has the requirement that you control another sliver in order to summon itself, as every card that summons itself must have some requirement in order to be summoned, with the most fitting requirement being that you control at least 1 other sliver monster, as slivers are supposed to swarm together. However, I gave this effect a hard once per turn to prevent you from filling your board with 2 or more quick slivers. It becomes a wind attribute, as it's a green card, and it's quick like the wind. The next card to be converted is Hatchery Sliver, a 2-cost sliver with 1 green and 1 generic, with 2 attack and 2 toughness, with the effect? Replicate 1 green, 1 generic, letting you summon a token copy of the card when you cast it for each time you paid its replicate cost. Each sliver spell you cast has replicate. Its replicate cost is equal to its mana cost. Hatchery Sliver becomes our ultimate extender, becoming a level 2 Earth Attribute Reptile with 750 attack and 900 defense. And the effect? If a level 4 or lower Sliver monster is normal or special summon a monster from your deck or hand with the same name as that face-up monster. You can only use the effect of Hatchery Sliver once per turn. Hatchery Sliver summons another copy of the card from the deck or hand, as tokens in Yu-Gi-Oh! Don't have effects, meaning that if we were to imitate the summoning an exact copy of a card to the field, the only place left is directly from the deck or hand. It only lets you summon level 4 or lower Slivers, as those are the general level caps for special summoning monsters. It becomes an Earth attribute, as it's a green card without any special elements in particular. Next up is Crystalline Sliver, a 2-cost Sliver with 1 white and 1 blue with 2 attack and 2 toughness. And the effect? All Slivers have Shroud. They can't be targets of spells or abilities. Crystalline Sliver becomes an important piece of protection, at least when building the board, becoming a level 2 Earth attribute reptile with 750 attack and 1000 defense. And the effect? Neither player can target Sliver monsters on the field with card effects. Simple as that. It becomes a light attribute, as its crystalline body is like gemstones from the earth. The next card up is Dreadscape Sliver, a 2-cost Sliver with 1 black and 1 generic, with 2 attack and 2 toughness. With the effect, each Sliver creature card in your graveyard has unearthed 2 generic, returning the card from your graveyard onto the battlefield with the keyword haste, letting it attack or use tap abilities on the turn it was played. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step, or if it were to leave the battlefield, unearth only as a sorcery. You can never have too many extenders, as Dreadscape Sliver becomes a level 2 dark attribute reptile with 800 attack and 600 defense. And the effect? If this card is in your graveyard, you can special summon this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. While face up on the field, target 1 Sliver monster in your graveyard, special summon it, but banish it when it leaves the field. You can only use each effect of Dreadscape Sliver once per turn. The cards Dreadscape Sliver summons don't have a clause that they are destroyed at the end of the turn, as cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! That have this effect don't generally stick around until your next turn. Each effect is a hard once per turn, as this card represents up to 2 free bodies if you can get Dreadscape Sliver into the graveyard. The next card up is Harmonic Sliver, a 3-cost Sliver with 1 white, 1 green, and 1 generic, with 1 attack and 1 toughness. And the effect? All Slivers have when this permanent enters, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Converting this card gets us our spell and trap removal, becoming a level 3 light attribute reptile with 300 attack and 500 defense. And the effect? If a Sliver monster is normal or special summoned, its controller can target 1 spell or trap card on the field, destroy it. Harmonic Sliver destroys spell and trap cards, as they are the closest thing to artifacts and enchantments, as they are non-creature cards that stay on the field. And it becomes a light attribute, since it has a white cost. And it's the attribute I think of when I hear the word harmonic. The last generic card we will be converting is Hive Stirrings, a 3-cost sorcery spell with 1 white and 2 generic. With the effect, create 2 colorless Sliver creature tokens. Converting this card, it would become a normal spell card. With the effect, this card is always treated as a Sliver card. Special summon 2 Sliver tokens, a level 1 Earth attribute reptile with 100 attack and defense. You cannot summon other monsters the turn you activate this card, except reptile monsters. This card is always treated as a Sliver card, as the name of a card is just as important as the card's effect, as in order to be searchable and work effectively with other cards in your deck, they must have a common name. The Sliver tokens become Earth attribute, as cards with no defining element become Earth. Finally, it locks you into only summoning reptiles, since summoning this many tokens in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a very strong effect, as many cards would abuse these 2 free bodies, locking you into only reptile monsters. Let Slivers do their thing without bending the game around this card, as reptiles are an unpopular monster type. Finally, to the real meat and potatoes is Mnemonic Sliver, a 3-cost Sliver with 1 blue and 2 generic, with 2 attack and 2 toughness. And the effect? All Slivers have 2 generic. Sacrifice this permanent, draw 1 card. Converting this card, I would make it a level 3 water attribute reptile with 700 attack and 900 defense. With the effect, during the main phase, the turn player can tribute any number of Sliver monsters. Draw a card for each tributed monster. Either player can only use the effect of Mnemonic Sliver once per turn. I changed Mnemonic Sliver's effect to tribute the Slivers all at once, and only once per turn, to prevent you from drawing out your entire deck in a single turn. Since Slivers, as they stand now, can swarm the field rather well, even if you have to tribute cards on the field. In Yu-Gi-Oh!, exchanging cards on the field to draw cards is generally worth it. Next up is Necrotic Sliver, a 3-cost sliver with 1 white, 1 black, and 1 generic, with 2 attack and 2 toughness, and the effect 3 generic. Sacrifice this permanent, destroy target permanent. Converting this card, it may become a level 3 dark attribute reptile with 1000 attack and 800 defense, and the effect quick effect. Either player can tribute 1 sliver monster, target 1 card on the field, destroy that card. Necrotic Sliver's destruction effect is a quick effect, as you can activate creature abilities at instant speed. And while I didn't make Mnemonic Sliver a quick effect, it's mandatory to have destruction at quick effect speed to disrupt your opponent's plays. The next card up is Cottery Sliver, a 2-cost sliver with 1 red and 1 white. With the effect, all slivers have 1 generic. Sacrifice this permanent. This permanent deals 1 damage to any target. All slivers have 1 generic. Sacrifice this permanent. Prevent the next 1 damage that would be dealt to target player, planeswalker, or sliver creature this turn. Converting this card, it may become a level 2 fire attribute reptile with 800 attack and 800 defense. With the effect, during the main phase, the turn player can tribute 1 sliver monster, inflict 200 damage to your opponent. If a player would take damage from a card effect or take battle damage from an opponent's monster's attack, quick effect, tribute 1 sliver monster instead. Cottery Sliver only deals 200 damage per sliver, as you could easily get 6 tributes worth of slivers with just Quick and Dredger Sliver alone. You also block all damage from a single instance of battle or effect damage, as this effect doesn't prevent your monster from being destroyed by battle, and you're not going to be hit with effect damage unless it's the entire purpose of that deck. The next card up is Mindlash Sliver, a 1 black cost sliver with 1 attack and 1 toughness, and the effect, all slivers have 1 generic. Sacrifice this permanent. Each player discards a card. Converting this card, I would make it a level 1 dark attribute reptile with 200 attack and 400 defense. With the effect, during the main phase, the turn player can tribute 1 sliver monster. Both players discard a card. Simple as that. And finally, we're getting to the big guns with the First Sliver, a 5-cost legendary sliver with 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, and 1 green, with 7 attack and toughness. And the effect, Cascade. When you cast this spell, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. You may cast it without paying its mana cost. Put the exile cards on the bottom of your library in a random order. Converting this card, it may become a Link 3 Earth Attribute Reptile with 2850 attack. With the effect, 3 reptiles with different attributes. If the First Sliver is Link summoned, excavate cards from the top of your deck until you excavate a level 4 or lower monster. Special summon it. Also, place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. You can only use this effect of the First Sliver once per turn. If a Sliver monster is normal or special summoned from the hand, excavate cards from the top of your deck until you excavate a monster with a lower level than the Sliver monster summoned. Special summon it. Also, place the other excavated cards on the bottom of your deck in any order. This card becomes a Link monster, as end-board cards are usually extra deck cards for general utility. That, and the fact that Link monsters have the least restrictive summoning requirements, as they are cards with varying levels that don't have a spell or a creature with a special summoning method. As if you don't know, Link monsters are cards that are summoned from a sideboard of cards called the extra deck, so long as you have the required materials on the field listed on the card you're trying to summon. It becomes a Link 3, as it requires 3 reptiles to be summoned. The monsters used also have to have different attributes to imitate the difficulty of paying a rainbow cost to summon this card. It has 2850 attack, as even though I said that every 1 stat point in Magic was equivalent to 500 stat points in Yu-Gi-Oh! For stat lines past 2000, I would consider every 500 stat points in Yu-Gi-Oh! To be equivalent to 2 stat points in Magic to maintain the nominal stat lines of 2500 and 3000. The first Sliver summons a level 4 or lower monster from your deck. As in Magic, you could only cascade into 4 or lower cost cards. When the first Sliver is cast, it summons monsters from the deck with a lower level than the Sliver monster summoned to prevent you from abusing cards like Quick Sliver to summon another copy of itself from the deck. The next card to be converted is Sliver Legion, a 5-cost legendary Sliver with 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, and 1 green, with 7 attack and toughness. And the effect? All Sliver creatures get +1/+1 for each other Sliver on the battlefield. Converting this card, it may become a Link 3 Earth Attribute Reptile with 2950 attack. With the effect, 3 reptiles with different attributes. All Slivers gain +400 attack and defense for every other Sliver monster on the field. The last card we will be converting is Sliver Hive Lord, a 5-cost legendary Sliver with 1 white, 1 blue, 1 black, 1 red, and 1 green, with 5 attack and toughness. And the effect, Sliver creatures you control have indestructible damage effects and effects that say destroy, don't destroy them. This will be our end board card, or boss monster, a Link 3 Earth Attribute Reptile with 2450 attack. With the effect, 3 reptiles with different attributes. Sliver monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects. And that's all of them for now. If there's anything I should have changed, or any ideas on cards I should convert next, please let me know in the comments below, or on my Discord and Patreon for script writing and more behind the scenes stuff. And if you like this video, you should watch this one, where I converted Duolog's top 10 waifus into Magic the Gathering.